part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Thank you for downloading the Chase Smith Podcast, proudly part of the Press Play Podcast Network. In this episode, I interview reflog Chris McNeil. We discuss the Browns' Week 14 victory over the Ravens, the playoffs, Stefanski, Baker, Browns Twitter, and play a game called More of a Problem. Let's get it! Here with the one and only Chris McNeil, a.k.a. Reflog. There are a number of ways you may know him by. He organized the Browns' perfect defeated season parade, made the Guardians beer pyramid pick famous, I believe. You're one of the first ones I see.
I did. I have not had that one referenced in a while. I appreciate that.
You did, of course.
Back to the archives for that.
Yeah, man. The master at trolling with the Cavs championship parade picture. It's always up. The airlines Fight Club picture. I think that was, I forget which airline that was, but that
United.
You have over and over again been made famous, Chris. You can catch the Reflog show on the Big Play Network Mondays at 9. Chris, thanks for joining the show, man.
I appreciate that intro. I haven't had an intro like that in a long, long time. You brought up some tweets that I'd kind of forgotten about or hadn't even thought about in quite a while. So I appreciate that, first of all. Thanks, Jay.
No, man. Your work spans just all genres, and just has your Twitter fame ever spilled over into real life? I mean, Twitter famous.
Oh, in weird ways. Weird ways.
Sure.
That's always what it is, because what'll happen, and the way it really manifests itself most of the time, is like I'm out in public and I'm not wearing any Brown stuff, or I'm not wearing any Cleveland stuff, or I'm not wearing any Indians, Guardians, or Cavs, or any of that. And I'll have people come up to me and just start talking Cleveland sports, like just off the street, just like people I do not know.
Yeah.
It'll happen more often than what you'd think, too. And you know, as soon as that happens, it used to take me off guard, and I'd be like, I wonder if they know me through Reflog. Now it's just like, I just assume that's exactly what they do, is they know me through there. So they just start talking Cleveland sports, and they expect some great insight out of me. And of course, walk away disappointed every single time.
Yeah. Did you also start the Cavs Battle of the Nuggets thing? Was that also you?
That was not me, although I was a big early adopter of that one. Yeah, that was Wayne Embry's kids on Twitter. Started that one up back 7 or 8 years ago. It's been quite a while. For those I was one of the early adopters of it, and it's really taken off. Now it's become like almost commercial.
Yeah, it really has. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, 7 or 8 years ago when the Cavs played the Denver Nuggets, you said, I forget his name, and I'm so sorry. You just said it.
It's Wayne Embry's kids. I don't know his actual name, you know, the way Twitter works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think he likes to keep that quiet because he's got like a really good job, and he's like a professional person in real life. And so he likes to keep those two things separate. But he started this thing. And it was basically the Cavs, whenever the Cavs play the Denver Nuggets, and they'll play them twice a year, once at home, once on the road. And what the challenge is you buy enough chicken McNuggets, and it's supposed to be McDonald's McNuggets. That was the original. You eat more than the Nuggets score. And it's called #MeVerseNuggets. And it has happened quite a few times. And you can imagine that matchup over the years, there's usually a lot of scoring and not a lot of defense. So you're going over 100 points. So you're talking about consuming over 100 nuggets. Other cities have done things like this, but usually they do it like per basket or for like a half. And like, we're the first ones that have really gone full bore. And we have people lined up, you know, Larry Nance, when he was injured back last year, he tried it out for a while, and he did a whole me versus Nuggets. So even players have done it, which is just fantastic and amazing.
It's amazing. Chris, we're going to talk about players and social media here in a little bit because that's where the Browns live for some reason. The Browns live in this weird in between of professional athletes and social media interaction and how that affects. We'll talk about that here in a moment, Chris. But hey, at the end of the day, the Browns defeated the Baltimore Ravens here, Week 14, 24-22, in Browns fashion. Wasn't easy. It wasn't fun to watch. It was unfortunately close near the end. Lamar Jackson injured right near the beginning of the second quarter. I don't have it right in front of me. Ankle injury. You're thinking, 24-3 24-10. Browns are going to cruise to a victory and a cover, and they escape the victory. The Ravens onside kick and they recover. I mean, what are your immediate takeaways, Chris, from this event? The Browns won, but it just still, can we just enjoy a victory?
Yeah. So first of all, I have to admit to something here. So the first half, I was, of course, sitting at home watching the entire first half and just felt really good.
Yeah.
For the second half, I had to go and coach my son's basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I had to follow along and kind of see what was going on. And I listened to the final 2 minutes of that game on the radio when I was going in between basketball games. So I was kind of picking up on bits and pieces of that second half. But I could just tell, I had no audio. I had nothing other than just numbers coming up on my screen in that second half. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I will bet that we are not controlling the ball.
Yep.
I will bet that the Ravens are probably going up and down the field. And I will bet that they're probably at this point, if they're not scoring, they're just making some silly mistakes or something. But I'll bet that at the end of this, when I get out of this basketball game, I have this bad feeling in the pit of my stomach that there's going to be a game to go and listen to. Yeah. And I was really hoping when I left that game at halftime, it's like, okay, nothing big is going to happen in the second half. We cruise, no big deal. My son wins his basketball game, which did happen, by the way.
Good.
And I don't have to worry about it. And certainly we all know how that thing turned out. I was pulling into the second game just as Denzel Ward was finishing off the Ravens, and it was just amazing. It's amazing that it takes that much. Nothing can be easy for us, right?
Nothing at all. And my daughter had a Christmas program at our church, so I didn't get to watch the last quarter and a half either. Just following along on my phone, trying to get video the important parts, and then kind of watch the Browns app and hope that it doesn't automatically start playing something. And it was.
Right in the middle of your daughter's concert. That is fantastic. At least, at the game, it's fairly loud. So I can kind of cover up a little bit. If you're in your daughter's concert and all of a sudden, in the back row, you
Jim Donovan. Oh no. I can just
see Nick Chubb. He fumbled. He fumbled.
Or an ad for some Bud Light seltzer at a church. And it's all this. So anyway, thankfully it didn't happen.
Have all the moms turning around, giving you these scowls, and all the dads turning around going, hey man, what happened?
Right. But seeing the Baltimore ball move, it was stressful. But we won. And it seems that the teams that the Browns needed to lose have lost. And we were talking pre-show how wild of a day it was. The Browns almost, you're looking at their schedule, and we're going to look at that after the break, Chris, kind of hold their own destiny here. We won a game we needed to win. And at the end of the year, we're going to see our record, and we're not going to remember. Honestly, I can't remember the small wins, controversial wins last year. We had some big wins, but even this year already, it's all blurred into just, hey, here we are. Right. And we're in a position to make the playoffs. And are we overreacting a little bit?
We always do. I mean, that's kind of our MO, right?
Yeah.
We're all kind of skittish. It's like if you get left at the altar enough times, you're going to be skittish, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be nervous on your wedding day, and especially nervous if you've been burned a few times. And it seems like that's where we're at as a fan base. Like, we are so used to getting jilted that we just kind of expect it. And so if things start going the wrong way, or there's any kind of indicators, you start reading those tea leaves and seeing things start to fall, you say, uh-oh, now we're in trouble. So a game like this where it starts going the other way, everybody was gripping. Everybody was gripping. And for good reason. We screw up games like this all the time. Yeah. All the time, I watched that Bengals game afterwards, and I was like, man, this is like the Browns too. You don't see other teams do the same things that we do normally. The Bengals did tonight, but it's so frustrating as Browns fans because you would like to see us obviously put together two halves. You start off so well in that game, and you say, okay, this is, everybody likes to call it a statement, get a statement victory. Everybody wants
hyper-focus.
Right. That's what we need. We need to put a stamp on it. We've been there 2 weeks. We've had all this time to prepare for Stefanski. He's really got to put, his stamp on this game, and we've got to dominate. And that did not happen. But then you see everything else that happened in the league. You say, okay, we won. So we'll take it. Live to fight another day. On to the Raiders, who lost, obviously, on next Saturday. So hey, the world keeps on spinning, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I was frustrated at the game before the bye when we lost to Baltimore in Baltimore. We just completely fell on our face. The Ravens have overachieved all season. They've been plagued by injuries, probably second only to Tennessee. The most, I mean, I just feel like, especially before the season started, they lost running backs and players, and they're still losing players. And the Ravens have played like 3 or 4 games where they should have lost, but somehow the Ravens find a way to win, and they found a way to win. And teams do that long enough, and it's just, they kind of create this culture of winning. And I was like, man, we had a game in Baltimore the Browns should have won. And then Lamar Jackson gets injured. And, I don't know, Chris, if they're going to win 2 more games. I mean, we're not a Ravens podcast, but it really feels
Baltimore?
like.
Yeah, I don't know. Has anything been confirmed? I heard he was out 2 games. I don't know how they had that pegged already. But it did seem like this could, I mean, he goes out for 2 games. That's big trouble for them.
Yeah.
That's
and all of a sudden, they're sitting atop the AFC North, but it's not that. I would be very, very concerned if I was a Baltimore fan. Because you start looking at our schedule, and as a Browns fan, I'm getting pretty excited. I don't think I've played our best football yet. I think we've played some good football. But
it's time to start, Chase. We're running out of daylight on this season, man. We're getting towards the end of December. It's almost Christmas.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to peak too soon, right? That would be bad. Hey,
that's what we're playing, right?
Yeah. Sure. That's, I think, a good way to talk about
strategy.
to talk about some of these things that we're reading on Twitter, and that's they talked about post game. It'd be a segment, Chris, I'd like to introduce to you called "More of a Problem," and here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give you 2 different options. You're going to tell me which one is more of a problem for the Browns right now. Chris, I got a couple here I want to throw at you. More of a problem: Stefanski's play calling or Baker's internal dysfunction that he talked about after the game?
Yeah, that was kind of a weird thing to say by Baker, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm going to go with Stefanski. I'm like a lot of people right now, pretty upset at what I saw from that second half, and the fact that you've got to be able to put that should be one of the easier things to do in football. And I understand this is NFL. There isn't very many easy things to do, but of that list of very difficult things to do, when you're up by that much, you should be able to at least move the ball a little bit on offense at home in December in Cleveland on the ground to be able to ice a game like that. So I'm very disappointed that Stefanski wasn't able to make that happen.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a problem that hasn't really gone away. Stefanski won Coach of the Year last year, and I feel like has granted him immunity in a lot of people's eyes. But I've never been sold.
That's waned. I'm surprised. You went, take us back to the beginning of this season. You said anything negative about Kevin Stefanski, you were getting run off of Twitter, maybe run out of the city, and maybe run out of the state, and maybe even the country. I mean, you could not say anything bad about Stefanski. A few weeks in, all of a sudden you heard some grumblings. Now, boy, there is a strong negative towards Stefanski and what he's done right now. People are definitely questioning him, and so much so I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised there was that quick of a turn, because we always talk about finding a franchise quarterback. We also haven't found a franchise coach since like
that
Marty
is
Schottenheimer,
very, very
right?
true. Yes,
it's
a very good point.
Belichick here, and that didn't work out. That gives you an idea. And so I figured having Coach of the Year, Stefanski, winning in the first playoff game, boy, oh boy, this guy's got to have at least 3 years just locked down. And we're into year 1 after that playoff win, and it's starting to get dicey. The honeymoon's long over. We want to see results.
I've been pretty suspect of Stefanski dating. I mean, really last year.
So you've hated him for a while.
Well, I haven't hated him. I didn't like what he did. Really, week 1, the fake punt against Baltimore. I didn't like how
Coach Stefanski, longtime hater.
How he finished the game against Dallas, that OBJ reverse, I thought was really, really lucky. And I saw a trend when we had big games against Tennessee, we were up. The Bengals, we were up. And then the Steelers in the playoffs, we had these huge leads, and we just turtled ourselves. And these teams would come back. And it drove me crazy. I mean, we won, and we won a playoff. So I felt kind of silly. But I mean, that trend has continued this year. I think Baker's internal dysfunction, Chris, winning fixes everything. You win and everyone's happy, and
that'll get fixed. That'll get fixed naturally.
It was a really weird comment. Sure. Because I think every team struggles with adversity. Yeah. But to mention it like that is like, I would love
just keep an eye on Emily's Instagram now to see if she has any comments about it.
Okay, well, that's a great segue to my next more of a problem.
Oh, is it? Because I'm just thinking, because he's naturally going to get some blowback for that of like, what is that? What is that? Is he mentally tough? People will start down those paths. And Emily, she just will not be able to stop herself.
Well, more of a problem, Chris. Browns players' social media drama or Browns Twitter drama? Because you see what Jedrick Wills did this evening. I don't know if you saw what he did.
I did not. This is a big reveal for me. I did not see anything from Mr. Wills.
He liked a quote tweet from Jamison Hensley. It said, Browns fan are waving and yelling to an injured Lamar Jackson as he's carted to the locker room. And he liked it. And it said, class is Cleveland. And he liked that. And then below that, he also liked a tweet that said, man, they live in Cleveland. I'd be miserable too. So he also,
okay. I actually saw somebody pointed that out to me and I didn't realize who they were pointing out in that string.
And this comes after an Instagram story saying pro athletes should go to regular people's jobs and boo the F out of them. Like, boo, you bagging groceries, slow as F, you effing bum. So he's had a rough night. But this isn't even the first the first Browns player to what is going on? Like, is this the product, Chris, of having cell phones all of your life and having all of this? I mean, is this so? They can't handle pressure and like people saying, hey, you need to do better?
Well, you got it right there. You can instantly respond to anything that you want to. Any commentator, any, loser like me, anybody in the media, they can respond. I can only imagine if you go back in time and if you would have given cell phones to some of these guys, like I bet just cold, if you were to like hand out cell phones back in the 1980s with Twitter or something like that, those guys would just destroy it. I think these guys these days actually understand it enough that they're not constantly, liking and going to Twitter. I'm surprised that some of these guys don't actually hit it up more because they're just built to operate on emotion, on adrenaline. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do out there on the field, right? I mean, that's what they're built up their entire career. And there's a certain mindset, of just uber ultra competitiveness, right? And that you're better than everybody else. And that's a winner's mindset and anything else is a loser's mindset and all that. So you get kind of brainwashed as an athlete at some point. And if you've got, these, in your mind, peons coming at you saying, what's going on? I think it's pretty natural for them to respond. So it doesn't bother me as much. It bothers me more when you got a team like the Cavs from a few years ago and like LeBron and Kevin Love and those guys, because that's a smaller fraternity. And it's like, come on, let's keep that stuff in house. Football players, the football teams are a lot bigger. And it seems like, that you're going to have that a certain level of that. And to me, likes and things like that, those really don't bug me that much. I know people make big deals out of the likes, but some of these guys don't even realize that that's going to be as visible as what it is and mean a lot to people as what it is. I think he's probably trying to make some sort of a point, but it may just be as simple as he's frustrated right now.
I think they know exactly what they're doing. And this does not make me feel good about the rest of the season.
So you're taking this as a big deal.
I think it's not an isolated incident. We had OBJ, we had Kareem Hunstad, we had Emily Mayfield, and now we have the other progressive, star. Who's going to control this team? Like, if he is the coach,
I think that's the question.
Wraps. We don't see this with any other team.
I think that's the question. And it,
what is going on?
You almost look at the leadership on the team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you start looking at, hey, Myles Garrett, what's going on? And, your defensive guys, and on the offensive side of the ball, that's got to come down to like Baker, maybe some guys on the line. I don't know. Certainly Landry. I mean, these are the veteran guys who you'd think would step up and kind of keep things in line, but there may not be leadership on the team at all. Maybe that's what it is. We just got an assembly of talent right now and no real leaders, but an assembly of talent can get you only so far. And we'll see what ends up happening. But I don't know. I'm not totally sold on this as a huge deal as much as you are. I think, a few wins, all of a sudden those things get smoothed over pretty quick. Now it goes the opposite way and it could really explode. I will go there with you, but
I think it speaks to culture.
Just in isolation, I'm not as worried about it.
I think it speaks to the culture of a team, and not to, I don't know. The NFL is a league of comparisons. You're all about stats, and you don't see this in New England. You don't see this in Tennessee. You don't see this in Baltimore. You don't see this really in Buffalo. Teams that you don't see this. I mean, Kansas City has Mahomes, a little drama. This doesn't happen. It doesn't bode well to our culture. I don't know of a team who has had a deep postseason run who has players calling out fans of their team. Like, I just don't.
I mean, we always hold, Pittsburgh's always up there on a podium, right? And you look at Juju Smith,
right? I didn't mention them.
Those guys have been. They've had more problems with social media by far than what the Browns have. I mean, a few likes versus some of that stuff. Even in Kansas City with Mahomes' brother, Mahomes can't keep his brother under control, right?
Yeah.
So, that's where I say, okay. I think it's pervasive in the game right now. So I don't know that it's as much of a Browns problem as maybe as it is a league, because you're going to see those things crop up in every team. It's just, we're more passionate, I think, as a fan base than a lot of other fan bases. So we make a big deal out of it.
Yes. And that's another good point too, Chris. There's not a lot of fan bases like Browns fans or Browns Twitter who we obsess over everything. We do go through our players' likes and who they follow and when they unfollow.
We care.
Them. We track planes, and we
care
do all
more than anyone else.
Were you the plane tracker? Was that you?
No, I did not do that.
Everything just automatically goes to you. I don't know.
Yeah, I get attributed for a lot of things, some of which I do, some of which I do not. Right. I did not do that one.
And so we do care, and we do want the team and the people that we invest our money in and spend our time with to live up to their potential and do their best. And so maybe we do boo, and maybe we do monitor every single action they take. And we do have 8,000 podcasts about a team that, and that's just because we care, and it feels like a part of our life. So where do we land on that? More of a problem, Browns players, social media drama, or Browns Twitter drama? We didn't really touch on Browns Twitter drama. We don't have to. More of a problem.
I don't know. Social media, that seems bigger. So
yeah, okay.
Social media drama.
More of a problem. David Carr in Cleveland or Joe Burrow in Cleveland? The Raiders. We host the Raiders next week, and the Bengals the final week of the season, January 9th. More of a problem.
They can't protect Burrow. They really can't. I was watching the Bengals tonight, and it's just like, boy, I almost feel bad for the guy, and I got a lot of crap for saying that he needs a better line. But that doesn't scare me. And we've beaten the Bengals before. The Raiders don't scare me. I'm going to that game on Saturday, bringing the kids up. And, I guess I'll go with Carr, because especially after a big victory like today was, I could see a letdown for the Cleveland Browns. We've seen it so many times that you let a guy like that just carve us up. Whereas with Burrow, what's coming, and that offensive line I still don't believe in. So I'm going to go with the Raiders. I'm going to go with Carr.
Yep. I'm slightly more worried about Burrow. I think
we're obviously talking short term just for these one games, because longer term, I'm way more concerned about Burrow continuing to grow and them getting an offensive line around him and them being big problem in the division for years to come.
I think at the start of the season, even though the Bengals started off red hot, I think the Raiders had a lot of good things going before their coach was fired and their star receiver was they've had a rough
full Raiders.
They had a little rough patch. Yeah. And so very winnable games. We're going to go through like I said, the schedule after the break. More of a problem, Baker's shoulder or Hunt's ankle?
Baker's shoulder. Baker touches the ball every play. Hunt, we've got D'Ernest. Of course, you got Chubb. Not to minimize Hunt by any means, because I think he's going to be a critical piece for us going forward, hopefully, as long as the ankle's okay. But, with Baker, with that whole, they went through all the injuries that he's got and all the problems he's got. Every one of those is a problem. So much so I was calling for us to go to Case Keenum back a couple of weeks ago, but seems like that's not going to happen. So, yeah, I think just the lingering injuries for Baker present a problem every single week.
Every time he gets off the ground, he winces or takes an extra second to get up. And then he was mad when he got sacked in the third quarter, like pretty hard. Wills got beat and Baker got crushed and he had to come out of the game. They called it a fumble, but the ball went forward 5 or 6 yards and the Ravens challenged it. And Baker had to sit out because he went to the medical tent for like 1 or 2 plays. And he was so upset on the sideline. And I don't even know if he knew who to be upset at. I think it's a league rule that you have to be out a couple of plays if you go to the tent.
I heard about that. Yeah. Wasn't there something where there was a timeout and then they saw something? I don't understand.
Yeah. It was something. The play got reversed, but every time he gets hit or slides wrong, he had a bad slide also in the second quarter, I think, where you're just like, oh man, that was like right on your shoulder. Baker said this is the healthiest he's felt since week 2. Doesn't seem that his leg injuries are affecting him as like, it's just, Chris, I don't know. I do think Baker's injuries are a problem. But at some point excuses have to stop and you got to produce. Hunt, it does also
they're going to put you out there. I mean, if they're going to put you out there and you want to be out there, then you're out there. We want you to be productive. If you can't do the job, then raise your hand and say, I can't do the job, put Case in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're a professional. And I know the team wants you in there. I know that you want to be in there, but if you can't be in there and you're hurting the team, I look to you to say, hey, take me out. So if you're in there, man.
There's a thread that say that the game plan changed when Hunt went out, that they were doing a lot of Hunt and Chubb kind of I'm stuff. And then when Hunt was
short
injured,
passes, which is driving me nuts. Not a lot of running the ball. It didn't seem it's amazing. I'm just looking at the stats here. 100 yards total. And that's including Baker's yardage. 59 for Chubb, 22 for Dearness Johnson. Kareem Hunt, you know how many yards he got rushing today?
It was like 8, I think.
5 yards rushing. Yeah. His long was 3 yards. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I heard this morning, I was listening to the pregame with Josh Cribbs, and Cribbs was saying the same thing. We need to run the ball. And so, sometimes I think, just me as a dumb fan, maybe I don't understand something that's really going on here, but it seems like everybody even in the know says, I don't get it either. I don't know why. Maybe it says something about our line that we really just don't believe that they can do it, that we can chip away and then eventually get that big home run out with this line. I don't know.
We've seen him do it before. Conklin's out, but Hudson seemed to play well. We saw him do it last year. And when it happened, people were going nuts. Oh my gosh, we did it against just off the top of my brain. We did it against the Texans where we ran it out. I think Bengals at the beginning of the season, and so it happened and we're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And we seem to be chasing that high again, and just doesn't work, which brings up a question of why can we not make in-game adjustments where it seems that other coaches or teams do kind of change it up and can have positive plays or move the ball.
I think you hit on something there.
Our in-game adjustments are awful.
And you see it. I mean, today is just exhibit A, right? We come out, he's got a good game plan coming out of the bye week, which you expect a coach with 2 weeks, where as obviously the Ravens had a difficult game last week. We had 2 weeks to prepare. He comes out with a good game plan. You get to halftime, they adjust. We don't readjust. And we saw what happened. We almost lose that ball game. So that concerns me. That goes right on Stefanski. To me, that's him and that's his coaching staff. They have got to make those adjustments. They have got to make those. That's really the wizardry of these really good coaches. I know that they're uber prepared in the during the week and everything else, but It's what they do in game. It's the matchups they see in real time. It's those opportunities that they see, the plays that they see. That's what makes the difference. You're going to script the first however many plays, but then after that, you're just basically making adjustments and accounting for what the defense is giving you. And on defense, then accounting for what the offense is giving you or not giving you, or if you want to assert your will. And it seems like we're missing something there. And that really concerns me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. If our in-game adjustments don't turn into positive adjustments, I don't see us going any further than where we did last year. It becomes too important in the playoffs and too.
Right now, I would be thrilled to win a playoff game. Even one game and out, I would be like, okay. Yeah. I mean, boy, it sure seems like that would be the ceiling for this team. Now, we go out and we beat the Raiders, we beat Green Bay, we beat the Bengals, we beat the Steelers. Then my expectations go through the roof. But as we sit right now, it's like, let's get into the playoffs. Number one, number two, let's win a game. If we could do that, I'd be pretty darn happy. And saying, okay, we had a playoff win last year, we had a playoff win this year. Hopefully we can grow over the off season. We can plug a few holes and come back. But boy, we've got a long way to go. With only a few weeks left, we've got a lot of work to do if we really expect to make any noise in this thing.
Yeah, last one, and then I want to talk more about that. More of a problem, not re-signing Clowney or not re-signing Denzel Ward.
Ooh, I'd say not re-signing Denzel Ward, really, because I think Clowney, big game today, has
they both had good games, really.
And Ward did too, and had some huge hits. The one at the end of the game, and then there in the first quarter. But I think Ward's the type of guy. Obviously we drafted him, brought him in from Ohio State. You want to be able to bring those guys along, and I think that says a lot. And then also he's become a key focus on the defense. Jadeveon Clowney is a nice piece that's opposite Myles Garrett, and we had some limited success last year with I forget his name from the Giants when he was in. Who we had at end.
It was Sheldon Richardson.
No, Sheldon's on the inside. The other defensive end. From the Giants. Anyway, he was up and down, but I think that's easier.
Olivier Vernon. He got injured.
Olivier Vernon. Yes, Olivier Vernon. I'm sorry. And he had a few good games with us. So I think that's a hole that you could probably plug and I think you could do it a little bit easier than with Denzel Ward. I'm a big fan of Denzel's, and I also a big fan of Clowney as well, to be honest with you. But I think Denzel would be harder to replace.
I agree with you. My concern is they have a lot of draft capital in the backfield, and they don't have a lot of good depth that can stop the run and set the edge like Clowney.
Yeah.
Whereas most of their backfield is a lot of young guys, and I'm afraid they're not going to re-sign Ward, even though he's had an incredible season. And they're going to say, hey, Clowney, here's a 2-year, incentive-based deal that's over, I just don't see Clowney taking a discount, and I don't see Ward. Ward needs a max deal. He's a franchise corner, and we might have another one. Newsome very well could be a franchise corner as well. Yeah. And that's what's so frustrating. I don't think we played our best football. I think our defense has played great, and I think our offense has played great, but they've never played great together. And that's, Chris, what gets me excited. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and we're going to talk about that schedule that Chris mentioned, and try not to get too excited about what the future could hold for this Cleveland Browns team. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Listen, it is beyond time for you to join a book club. I know you've been thinking about it, and everyone's doing it. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey everyone, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Backed by popular demand, I'm excited to let you know that new episodes of the Hyman Podcast will drop every other Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to continue the conversations we started last season and keep having those hard conversations. There is so much in store for you this season, and I'm excited to share it with you. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single moment. The Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
And me, Christina Walter.
Every other week we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
All right, back here with Reflog, Chris McNeil. We're talking all things Cleveland Browns after a Browns 24-22 victory over the Baltimore Ravens in Cleveland to keep our season alive. You know, Chris, I want to go over the rest of the Browns schedule, and I was shocked to find out that over the last 5 games, we are 3-2. Now, that doesn't sound nearly as bad as it feels.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a winning. That's a winning record, and if you the way it feels, it doesn't feel like we've had a winning record over the last 5 games or the last 6 weeks since we had a bye in there.
Right. We are 7-6. We are over 500, and right. How quickly, Chris, we forget what winning 4 games feels like. How quickly we forget of not winning a game feels like. And we have a glimmer of hope last season. We get to the playoffs. We honestly probably could have gone further if a couple of plays go differently. I mean,
absolutely.
Everything was just ours for the taking. And now we're expecting a come from behind drive every game. Now we're expecting a perfect passer rating every game. We are 3-2 in the last 5. We have had I'm going to say a fairly difficult schedule. We play in a very physical, tough division. Every team is battling with injuries. And we are 1 game out of the AFC North. We are on the bubble for the playoffs. We are the top team to get in right now. The current playoff picture, as of week 14, we got Patriots 1, Titans 2, the Chiefs 3, the Ravens as the AFC North champs are 4 right now. Their stock is trending down. The Chargers 5. You know, all of a sudden that, I don't know, was that 3 week 4 victory over us is a big, you know, continues to be a big deal, which
it felt like that was going to be a big deal too, even at the time.
It did. And the Colts 6 with the Bills at 7. The Colts and Bills are both 7-6. The Bengals are 7-6. The Broncos somehow are 7-6. And I have no idea how they are 7. I was shocked to find that out, that they are 7-6. I felt like they were like a 4 or 5 win team. Are they the Browns of the West? I don't even know. Anyway, I want to go over the rest of our schedule because I'm pretty excited. Next week, we play the Raiders at 4:30. We host the Raiders. What do you expect to see with that one, Chris?
Well, hopefully a good game because I'm going to be there with my kiddos, which I always enjoy. A Saturday game too. That's always fun, you know, because you get that, you know, you don't have to go to work the next day.
Yep.
So that is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. But
that was flexed too, I think.
It was flexed, yeah, because I had planned on taking that Sunday. I'd already changed all kinds of plans on that Sunday, and then it got flexed to Saturday back 3 weeks ago or so. But I think the biggest thing for me in that game is I hope that the Browns come out with the same kind of intensity they did today, and then continue that throughout the entire game, because this is a big game. And I know we're going to be saying every game is a big game from the way out, but if you look at it, I mean, they're AFC, the Raiders, they're in the playoff picture. We're going to be competing with them. You've got to beat them. And I hope that the Browns match that intensity and can continue with it the entire game, because we have seen them too many times when they're right at the doorstep, and for some reason they just do not get it done, and they don't seem to approach it with the type of intensity you would assume that they would, when that's what stands between them and the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel like this could be a very similar game to the Vikings game. I don't even know if the Raiders are as good as the Vikings. I think maybe they were as competitive as the Vikings at the start of the season. I just think they've had some internal dysfunction. You don't talk about a team going through it.
They're the type of team, if you put your foot on their neck, they're going to croak, and you just got to do that. You just got to do that. They lack metal. They don't have a leader. I think they're the type of team that you could really beat down, but I have serious questions over whether the Browns really have that kind of aggressive tendency to really make it happen. We talk a lot, but whether it's Myles Garrett dressing up with all the quarterbacks, for Halloween, being the Grim Reaper, and decorating his house, or some of the things Baker said, we like to talk a little bit, but to see it on the field, I'd really like to see us go out there and show that aggression and just take it to somebody. And then it would be a great start doing it against the Raiders this season.
What encourages me is the Raiders got shellacked by the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
That's what I'm saying. This is a team that can die.
It does seem
kill
that
them, they will die. It's not a Halloween movie. They're not coming back. You kill them, they're dead. That's it.
It does seem that I was anxious to see how they played this against the Chiefs today. It does seem like the fight might not be there. That is, once you're up, they just kind of get down. Very, very, very winnable game that the Browns need. I don't know if the Browns can lose more than 2, because then we go to Lambeau and play.
We can lose that game. That's the only one I think you can lose, because that's an NFC matchup. I mean, it's certainly not going to help you to lose it, but if you're going to lose a game, that'd be it. I think you got to win everything else.
Yes, because then we go at Pittsburgh, which is going to be tough. It's in Pittsburgh. They play teams tough. My brother-in-law is a Pittsburgh fan, and he told me today that he would rather bring back Roethlisberger next year and fire Tomlin. And I'd never heard that from. Well, I mean, I don't talk to a lot of Pittsburgh fans, but I was just dumbfounded that there are Steelers fans out there that are like, yeah, Tomlin's the problem. We need a new coach and not a new quarterback.
They've said that for years too, which always amazed me too.
Maybe
we talked about it earlier in the show. The same thing we've looked for as long as we have a franchise quarterback as a franchise coach, and they have one. And they unload him like every season.
Yep. So that at Pittsburgh, and then January 9th, we host the Bengals season finale. I think that's going to be Baker owns the Bengals for some reason. He's like our Roethlisberger and the Browns. Like Baker just beats the Bengals is what he does. I agree. I think we can lose one of those and still make the playoffs. Do you see us making the playoffs?
We can lose one, but it's got to be the Packers game. I think you got to win maybe the Raiders game, but you can't lose those divisional games. And then it's very tough to lose another AFC game with the way tiebreakers, because this is going to come right down to the wire.
Yeah, it really is.
As we sit here, we're going to need every single one of those wins.
Yep. Can you imagine though? We beat a Raiders team. All of a sudden we've won 2 straight. We haven't lost a game in 3.5, almost, a month. We go into the Lambeau. If we beat Green Bay in Lambeau and really start hitting our stride,
it's literally Christmas.
It literally is Christmas,
right?
We, feeling good going into Pitt. Like we might not lose another game.
Yeah. You're exactly right. That's why there's all this pent up optimism.
Yes.
Everybody's got it, but everybody's so scared because of the football gods. Like you can't talk about it.
Look, our defense is good enough. We have the game changers on defense. We have, Miles
can be. I mean, they played well today. Joe Woods is very up and down with his defense.
Yeah.
We've seen some bright spots. I want to see the consistency. If that can keep up, the offense has got to hold up their end of the deal.
So this is what excites me about getting into the schedule, getting into the playoffs, is our team is built to succeed in the playoffs. We have a very strong defense. We have an improving secondary. We have, a blue chipper, Ward, Garrett, our rookies on defense are playing out, and we have the best line in the league and the best running back room in the league. And that's how you used to win football games in the playoffs. And I think we have a quarterback that can make it happen. Chris, I'm a pro Baker guy. And I think, man, that catch by Donovan Peoples-Jones today was amazing. Then that was the first quarter. I think you were watching it then. That was, I mean, I saw, I think Hayden Grove tweeted a first receiver touchdown since November 6th. Did you see that? But Jarvis caught that one in the first quarter.
Hayden who sent that out, or OBJ's dad?
Yeah, right. And so I think if we get on a roll and the players, again, winning cures everything. And I think there's a world where we beat this Raiders team. All of a sudden we have some confidence and swag back in the team and the process and who we are. And I think that if we win in Lambeau, that can be a launching pad for something really, really special, because it's not like any of those teams I read in the playoff picture are any better than the Browns. Bills, I think Bills, Colts, Chargers, we know we can play.
No, nobody scares me. Nobody scares me. I think what you would really get at that time too is the national exposure, which doesn't matter much to me. But for a guy like Baker Mayfield, that means a lot to him. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. He wants as anybody would in their profession. He wants that respect. He wants that swagger. He's always carried that swagger. And at times he's backed it up. At most of the times he has not here lately. If he goes into Lambeau and he does something, all of a sudden Baker Mayfield becomes the talk of the nation as we head into the playoffs.
Yep.
So there's a lot of juice, although it's probably the least of the playoff games in terms of significance that's left. It's the most juice.
Yeah,
I would say nationally, because they care less about the divisional stuff as we do. But something on Christmas like that, playing Aaron Rodgers, everybody's talking about, obviously, who's the reigning MVP and everything else. I mean, that's big time.
Yep, it has the most juice, and I think it could propel the team the most winning in Lambeau. And Baker, he didn't have a bad game today. 22-32, 190 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick, 91 rating.
That pick too. I wonder what was going on there, because it looked like it was a route thing. I don't know if it was a combination of the throw and the route, or whether it was just straight up a route thing. But I don't like to make a whole lot of excuses for him. I think everybody else does. Yeah. But in that case, I think there's a little bit of investigating on what really happened there.
Well, our investigation, Chris, is done. That does it for this episode of the Chase Smith Podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Follow us online at Press Play Pods. Visit our website, pressplaypodcast.com, to keep up with all of our shows and network news. Chris, plug something, brother.
Big Play. Check us out. We've got our show every Monday night at 9 p.m. You can catch us on Twitter at Reflog18. That's where I will simulblast our show, and then for all of my latest tweets.
Yep. Chris, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great show tomorrow night, and I'm sure we'll talk sometime soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chase.
Thanks, my man.